Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the, captain's quarters? That would be a good name for this. Some of you might still be confused as to how I ended up here. Now, as I explained on Monday, when I gave in to the siren call of the magic attic door a few weeks ago, it led me here. And some of you have rightfully questioned how that works. Did it just drop me here the way a Malkovich door drops you off on the side of the New Jersey Turnpike? Did I walk through a tear in the space-time continuum? Sadly, it wasn't anything as cool as that. It turns out the door just leads to this fireplace over here. And if you don't believe me, here's footage of me crawling out of it and realizing that I am now in my in-laws' house. So as magical interdimensional portals go, it's kind of a bust. On the plus side, it did spit out my beloved copy of the Thornbirds. That's right up there. But hey, at least I have my own space here where I can do my show without any attic wasps, unplanned Ethan Hawke cameos, or interruptions from the ghost of a dead sea captain.
I don't interrupt, I interject.
Anyway, speaking of going insane, the president and his political allies are telling you to suck it up and deal with the out-of-control coronavirus outbreak. And if you don't like it, hey, you can always resort to cannibalism. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump is clearly upset that he can't hold rallies anymore now that attendance is so bad they look like Tuesday afternoon Mets games. So yesterday, he lured reporters to the Rose Garden by pretending to hold a press conference, but decided instead to hold a little campaign rally for himself, which quickly devolved into yet another one of his trademark psychotic meltdowns.
Joe Biden's entire career has been a gift to the Chinese Communist Party. They're going to abolish immigration enforcement. What they're going to do is they're going to rip down the wall. They're taking it down. They want to take down the wall. Abolish law enforcement as we know it. Abolish completely the death penalty. Biden wants to defund our military. They want to abolish our police departments. They want to abolish our prisons, I guess. But Hunter, where's Hunter? Where is Hunter, by the way? Abolish in the suburbs. You're going to abolish the suburbs with this. I think we have really good poll numbers. They're not suppression polls, they're real polls. You look at the lakes, you see thousands of boats with Trump signs. You look at bikers for miles and miles riding up highways proudly with their signs.
Ah, yes, those two key demographics, the boats and the bikers. Now all you need are the cowboys, the construction workers, and the leathermen, and you'll have swept the village people, or as I call them, the erectoral college.
Oh, Seth, shame on ye.
Seriously, you know you're desperate when you call an official presidential press conference in the Rose Garden to brag about a boat parade. And don't forget the jet skiers, they love Trump, parasailers, bungee jumpers, basically everyone whose wife wants him out of the house for weekends. They're on Team Trump. And of course, the coronavirus pandemic, that ongoing crisis that has left the country in ruins, barely came up at all. He basically ignored it. That's like the fire department showing up to a burning house just to sell you their new calendar. Check out those six-pack abs. Either these guys are smoking hot or your house is on fire. Oh, is it? Oh, it is on fire. Okay, this is a case where it's both. It is impossible to watch what is unfolding right now under this administration and avoid the conclusion that America is in free fall at this very moment. As a mostly preventable second coronavirus outbreak spirals further out of control, more than 5 million Americans have lost their health insurance. A third have missed housing payments. As many as 28 million faced eviction. Expanded unemployment benefits are about to expire. People are about to get their tax bills. Schools might not be able to reopen. And even the Postal Service is being gutted by soulless corporate raiders installed by our cretinous business husk of a president. Think about that. We might not even be able to get our mail on time anymore. That's how bad things are. And for most of us, getting our mail is the only entertainment we have left. The only thing we have to keep us preoccupied is excitedly rushing to the mailbox to see what's 30% off in this month's Pottery Barn catalog. Honey, would this wicker basket look good in our panic room? And then, of course, there's the fact that a out-of-control coronavirus outbreak could dovetail with flu season in the fall and winter, as the CDC director warned just yesterday. Think about all of these simultaneous crises colliding at once and how much preventable misery that would unleash on the country. The only way 2020 could get any worse is if Washington's football team changed their name to the Jeffrey Epsteins. Apologies to whoever had to make that in their apartment on the graphics team. I don't know which one of you did, but apologies and thank yous. And yet, the federal government under Donald Trump could not care any less about the anguish and pain tens of millions of Americans are going through. Just this week, the president was asked about an Arizona teacher who died after teaching a summer school class, and he couldn't even muster the minimum level of human empathy required to at least offer his condolences.
What do you tell parents who look at this, who look at Arizona where a school teacher recently died teaching summer school, parents who are worried about the safety of their children in public schools?
Schools should be opened. Schools should be open. We have to get them open. And I think there's a lot of politics going along. I think they think they'll do better if they can keep the schools closed in the election. So we just set a brand new record today on NASDAQ again. This is now, I think, the 18th time since, and this is since after the problem. So we have a new stock market high for NASDAQ, and the other ones are getting very close.
My God, man. Someone just asked you about a teacher dying from a pandemic you failed to stop, and your response is to brag about the NASDAQ? Was the part of your brain responsible for empathy permanently damaged in a ramp-related accident? Man, he tiptoes down that thing like a first-time skier at a bunny hill. You know, if you ever want to smile, just know if that's how he walks down a ramp in public, he's definitely fallen down one hard in private. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw him eat at Nards First in a YouTube compilation called Epic Ramp Fails. Trump wants schools to reopen, and I get it, because we all want schools to reopen. No parent in America come Labor Day will be thinking, you know what, I could use some more quality time with the kids. The other day, my son said, I want to go outside. And I said, there's a lightning storm. And he said, but I want to. And I said, it's not safe. And he said, I don't care about safety. I want to. And I said, oh my God, this is like talking to the president about reopening schools. This is, of course, the central feature of Trumpism, the proud lack of empathy, the intentional cruelty, inflicting misery on your opponents and disfavored groups just to prove your dominance. Trump was also asked yesterday about the horrific murder of George Floyd and about the well-documented fact that black people in this country are disproportionately more likely to be killed by police. And again, rather than offer empathy for the victims of racist police violence, he got mad at the question.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
That's not a great defense. Look, the police don't see color, okay? They just pull up and start shooting. And you can right off with your what a terrible question, since you're the guy who popularized such actual terrible questions as where was Barack Obama born, or what's his real religion, or why won't Obama release his college applications? Is there something foreign about them? The only thing foreign to you about Obama's grades would be the letters. An A+, plus what? What are you hiding, Obama? Plus what? The only grades Trump is familiar with are F-, incomplete, and oh, sorry, I didn't realize who your father was. The fact is, the rate at which black Americans are shot and killed by law enforcement is more than twice as high than that of white people. You just have to do basic math, which I know is beyond you since the only numbers you're used to dealing with are a couple of zeros.
Oh, that'd be a zinger.
The basic truth here is that Donald Trump just could not care any less about racist police violence or the coronavirus pandemic or the financial misery tens of millions of Americans are currently going through. And not only that, he's doing everything he can to make his situation worse. His rally in Tulsa more than likely caused a spike in cases there, according to the local health director, and he's still planning, as of now, on holding an in-person Republican convention next month in Florida, which just shattered the national record for new daily cases. At this point, I wouldn't be shocked to see him call the virus up on stage with him at the convention. We love the virus, don't we, folks? Ever since he joined the campaign, there are more red states than ever before. Give it up for Rona. Trump does not care what happens to you because the system is working perfectly for the people he actually represents, namely himself and his fellow rich ghouls. Billionaires have gotten $583 billion richer since the pandemic began. The system is working perfectly for them, which is why Republican senators have chosen to spend their time during a once-in-a-century cataclysm tweeting not about the pandemic that's spiraling out of control in the states they represent, but about statues, beans, the NBA, and the president's golf game. Like when Lindsey Graham tweeted on Sunday, President Trump claims he plays golf fast. Not only is that true, it is a tremendous understatement. Man, why does Lindsey Graham always tweet like he has a red laser dot on his forehead? President Trump is a great golfer. He doesn't want to do this. He is just and merciful, isn't he? Isn't he? And no, Trump does not play golf fast. He doesn't do anything fast. He lumbers around the White House lawn in circles like he's looking for a golf ball he shanked off the tee. Anyone see a Titleist 3? Little boobs drawn on it. The guy's Frankenstein if he was spraying for weeds. Crabgrass, bad. Even more deranged than the sycophantic Dear Leader praise of the president's golf game is the fact that a U.S. senator chose to spend his time tweeting about this and not say a plea to his constituents and fellow conservatives to wear masks, especially since his colleague Ted Cruz apparently refused to wear one on a flight. Man, you'd think Ted Cruz would at least want to wear a mask so no one would see that his beard makes him look like an out-of-work hedgehog. I'm sorry, but not wearing a mask is now officially the thing you can do on a flight, and I am including wearing open-toed sandals. You foot freaks are off the hook until this pandemic is over. This is the conservative movement of Donald Trump, a movement that rejects science and empathy in favor of dumb culture war grievances like statues and cancel culture. As a highly infectious, deadly disease spreads like wildfire, the supposedly pro-life party has abandoned you. Scared of getting sick? The White House says, too bad, we need to live with it. Lost your job amid the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression? The only advice they have is find something new. Courtesy of the new ad campaign rolled out by Ivanka Trump, who famously has found many jobs on her own with no help from her father. Ivanka Trump is the last person who should be lecturing anyone on learning new skills to cope with a job loss. The only skills she has are having a rich father, making scarves that catch fire, and unnaturally holding up a can of beans, as she demonstrated with this incredibly dumb and most likely illegal tweet last night advertising Goya after the CEO praised Trump. She looks like she's auditioning to be a game show model in the 80s. Oh, the vaccine was behind door number 1, but you've won a year's supply of Goya beans. Show them the beans, Ivanka. I mean, what do you even call a person who takes that photo in the middle of a pandemic?
The Bean Queen? She won't be liking that nickname.
Oh, thank you, Sea Captain.
It be me pleasure.
But it's not just the Trump White House. Millionaire right-wing pundits are also telling you from the safety and comfort of their homes and studios to suck it up and deal with it. Here's Fox News host Laura Ingraham on Monday arguing that the coronavirus is just something we have to live with.
No more lockdowns. Viruses are a fact of life, and it's very sad. And sometimes, as with COVID-19, there will be awful, tragic results.
Oh, so viruses are just a fact of life? Cool, then why don't you take your show on the road and do it on location from an Amazon warehouse or a meatpacking plant? Hell, do it on an airplane. Start a new segment where you prove viruses aren't a big deal by inviting people to cough on you. You can sit next to Ted Cruz. 11B is open. On Tuesday, Rush Limbaugh cited the Donner Party, you know, the cannibals, as an example of how we should adapt to the pandemic. And I really wish I was exaggerating, but yeah, I'm not.
The Donner Party, the Donner family, and a bunch of travelers trying to get to California over the Sierra Nevada mountain range. They made the mistake of trying to make the trip in the middle of winter. We're talking the Lake Tahoe region. They get to the peak. It was so bad that they had to turn to cannibalism to survive. That's what's noteworthy about the Donner Party. If you read the diaries written by the leaders of the Donner Party, the only reference to how cold it was one sentence. It was a particularly tough winter. It's just what was. They didn't complain about it because there was nothing they could do. They had to adapt. This is what's missing. There seems to be no concept of adaptation. There seems to be no understanding in the millennial generation that we can adapt to this and that we're going to have to.
Finally, the Republicans have found a message to run on. Trump 2020, your neighbors are delicious. This psycho right there, he got a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Next time we tune into his show, he's probably going to be gnawing on it. See, we don't need food. Gold tastes delicious. Can't wait for Ivanka's new tweet holding up a femur with a recipe for how to cook it. Soak it in broth for 30 minutes, mix in some carrots and peas, and voila. You've got Carl soup. We're witnessing an unprecedented failure of American governance brought about by a political movement that couldn't care less what happens to you or your loved ones. A series of crises are heading for a disastrous collision, and the Trumps and Ivankas and Limbaughs and Ingrams and Cruzes and Grahams of the world, they just don't care. But as we've seen time and time again in Trump world, when this grift of theirs comes crashing down, they'll turn on each other because they always do. And when that happens, we'll be able to say,
it was so bad that they had to turn to cannibalism to survive.
This has been A Closer Look. So many New Yorkers are needing to turn to City Harvest for help feeding their families, and they need your support. Now more than ever, if you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We love you.